The jungle of Kepler 442b breathed with malevolence. Thick vines coiled like serpents through the canopy, and the air hung heavy with spores that glowed faintly in the dim light of the system's red dwarf star. Tala stumbled through the undergrowth, her three-fingered hand pressed against the gaping wound in her side. Blue blood seeped between her fingers, leaving a trail that the predators would follow. She had been a navigator aboard the merchant vessel Distant Hope, transporting rare minerals from the outer colonies back to the core worlds. Then the pirates came. The attack had been swift and brutal, their weapons tearing through the hull like paper. The crew scattered into escape pods, but hers malfunctioned, sending her careening toward this nightmare world instead of the designated safe coordinates. Now she was alone, dying, and surrounded by creatures that viewed her as prey. A shriek split the air behind her. Tala glanced back and saw them. Pack hunters with 6 legs and mandibles that dripped acid. They moved through the trees with terrifying grace, their compound eyes fixed on her bleeding form. She tried to run faster, but her legs buckled. The poison from an earlier encounter with one of the planet's countless venomous flora was spreading through her system, making her limbs heavy and unresponsive. She crashed through a clearing and found herself at the edge of a ravine. The drop stretched down into darkness, and the sound of rushing water echoed from far below. The hunters emerged from the tree line, spreading out to cut off any escape route. Their clicking communication filled the air as they coordinated their final attack. Tala raised her service pistol with a shaking hand. 3 shots left. Not enough. She had survived the destruction of her ship, survived the crash, survived 2 days in this hell, only to die here at the claws of mindless beasts. Her home planet of Varana felt impossibly distant, her family's faces already fading from memory as the poison clouded her thoughts. The lead hunter tensed, ready to pounce. Then the jungle exploded with thunder. The creature's head disintegrated in a spray of green ichor. The pack scattered, confused, and suddenly wary. Another boom, and a second hunter collapsed, its thorax blown open. Tala's fading vision struggled to focus on the source of this intervention. Through the trees, a figure approached with measured steps. Human. She had heard of them, of course. Everyone in the known galaxy had heard of humanity by now. The species that had emerged from a backwater system and spread across the stars with alarming speed. The species that treated warfare as both an art and a science. The species that other civilizations whispered about in tones mixing awe and fear. This one was tall by human standards, wearing armor that looked cobbled together from a dozen different sources. His weapon was primitive by galactic standards, using chemical propellants instead of plasma or rail technology, yet it proved devastatingly effective. He moved with the confidence of a predator, and the remaining hunters recognized this. They retreated into the undergrowth, their clicks taking on a tone that sounded almost like fear. The human reached Tala's side and knelt down, his weathered face creasing with concern. His eyes were a startling green, and despite her deteriorating condition, Tala found herself fascinated by the emotion she saw there. Most species viewed strangers with suspicion or indifference. This human looked at her with something different. "Easy there," he said in accented but understandable common tone. "You're in bad shape, but I've got you." He examined her wound with practiced efficiency, then pulled a medical kit from his pack. The supplies were human-made, designed for human biology, but he seemed to know what he was doing. He cleaned the wound with something that burned but stopped the bleeding, then applied a gel that sealed the torn flesh. "The poison," Tala managed to whisper. "In my blood?" The human nodded. "Saw the marks on your leg. Purple thorn vein, right? Nasty stuff." He rummaged through his kit and produced a vial of clear liquid. "This is a broad-spectrum neutralizer. Shouldn't kill you, which is more than the poison will do if we wait." He injected the substance into her arm, and Tala felt a wave of cold rush through her veins. For a moment, she thought he had miscalculated, that she would die anyway from an adverse reaction. Then the fog in her mind began to clear, and the heaviness in her limbs started to recede. "There we go," the human said with a slight smile. "Give it a few minutes." "Why?" Tala asked. "Why help me?" The human looked puzzled by the question. "Why wouldn't I?" "You needed help." He glanced around at the hostile jungle. "Name's Marcus, by the way. Been living on this rock for about 3 years now." 3 years? Tala struggled to sit up. "Alone?" "Wasn't supposed to be alone. I was part of the survey team. Then the company that hired us went bankrupt, and they never sent the retrieval ship." Marcus shrugged. "I made do. Built a shelter, learned what's edible and what'll kill you. Figured out which animals to avoid and which ones make decent neighbors." He helped Tala to her feet, supporting her weight as her strength slowly returned. The neutralizer was working faster than she expected, testament to either human medical ingenuity or sheer luck. Probably both. "Can you walk?" Marcus asked. "I think so." "Good. My place isn't far, but we need to move before those hunters work up the courage to come back. They're persistent when they smell blood." They moved through the jungle, Marcus leading the way with his weapon ready. He navigated the terrain with the ease of someone who had mapped every dangerous plant and hidden pitfall. Tala noticed the small signs of his presence. Marks on trees indicating safe paths, carefully placed stones marking hazards, even what looked like improvised traps to catch unwary predators. "How did you find me?" she asked. "Heard the commotion. The wildlife around here has patterns, and when something disrupts those patterns, I investigate." He glanced back at her. "Saw your pod come down 2 days ago. Been trying to reach the crash site, but the terrain isn't cooperative." The shelter appeared suddenly, so well camouflaged that Tala almost walked past it. Marcus had built it into the side of a rocky outcropping, using local materials and salvaged metal to create something that was part bunker, part home. Inside, it was surprisingly comfortable, with a generator humming quietly in one corner and screens showing various views of the surrounding jungle. "Sit," Marcus said, guiding her to a chair. "Let me check that wound again." As he worked, Tala observed her surroundings. The shelter showed clear signs of long habitation. Books made from synthesized paper, tools hung in organized rows, even what looked like a small garden growing under artificial lights. This was not the dwelling of someone merely surviving. This was a home. "You seem comfortable here," she observed. Marcus chuckled. "Wouldn't go that far. But you adapt or you die. I'm stubborn about dying." He finished examining her wound. "You're healing well. The poison's almost neutralized. You'll be weak for a day or two, but you should make a full recovery." "The rest of my crew," Tala said suddenly. "There were other escape pods. If mine crashed here, theirs might have too." The human's expression grew serious. "I haven't seen any others, but I'll help you look once you're strong enough to travel." He paused. "What happened up there?" Tala explained about the pirate attack, the destruction of the Distant Hope, the scattered crew. Marcus listened intently, his jaw tightening when she described the brutality of the assault. "Pirates have been getting bolder," he said when she finished. "No real government presence out here in the frontier. Just corporations and independent operators, and neither cares much about protecting merchant vessels." "And you?" Tala asked. "Why stay here? Surely you could signal for help, find passage off-world." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "I did, at first. Sent out distress calls for months. Then I realized something. Back in civilized space, I was just another worker, another name on a payroll. Here, I matter. Every decision I make has real consequences. Every day is a challenge, sure, but it's my challenge. He stood and moved to one of his screens, bringing up a star chart. But that doesn't mean I've given up on leaving. I've been mapping this system, cataloging resources, building a database that'll be worth something to the right buyers. When I do get off this rock, I'll have something valuable to trade. Then I arrived in complicated things, Tala said. No, Marcus replied firmly. You gave me something I've been missing. Purpose beyond just survival. Someone who needs help. He smiled. Humans are social creatures, you know. We don't do well alone for too long. Even stubborn ones like me. Over the next day, Tala's strength returned fully. Marcus proved to be an attentive host, sharing his food and knowledge freely. He taught her about the jungle's rhythms, how to identify the dangerous plants from the harmless ones, which water sources were safe, and which carried parasites. In return, she told him about life in the core worlds, about the politics and economics that governed galactic civilization, about her family on Verana, who would be mourning her loss. On the second day, they set out to search for other survivors. Marcus had modified his equipment to detect electronic signatures, hoping to locate other escape pods or emergency beacons. They moved methodically through the jungle, avoiding the territories of the most dangerous predators. They found wreckage, but no survivors. 3 more pods, all damaged beyond their ability to protect their occupants. Tala stood before the remains of what H.